I have made multiple videos on the used car price bubble over the last couple of years, and in general, prices have been trending either stagnant or down for the last little while. So that's why I think it's so interesting that right now people don't really want to buy cars, whilst they do want to buy cars. How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about this weird conundrum, as well as the quite stagnant or downtrending prices of used cars. If you like this video and want to see more like it, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new here. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So it comes as no surprise that the UK is currently in a cost of living crisis. It's been all over the news, everyone's talking about it, and generally people are not having a great time with their cash. One key impact of a cost of living crisis is that consumers generally want to spend less. On top of a cost of living crisis, we have a high rate of inflation. These two things put together are making consumers or people in the market generally want to spend less money. People are trying to be as safe as possible with their money. They're trying to buy fewer luxury items and only buy the absolute essentials. Across multiple industry reports right now, you can see a very low level of consumer confidence here in the UK. And that remains true in the used car dealership sector as well, where confidence is pretty low. So then what I find so interesting is that those same reports are also noting very high demand for used cars. So according to Car Dealer magazine, September was one of the busiest months in the wholesale car buying market. That means that used car dealerships were buying as much stock as possible at wholesale prices. And when I say high, it was 2% higher than it was in 2019, which is probably the last comparable year from that perspective, not being in a pandemic. And then dealers are finding it quite easy to actually shift those cars as well, converting 86.6% of their stock first time around. That's again 2% higher than it was in 2020 when prices were slightly lower. So let's try to bring this all together to make sense of it. Number one, people are scared about their money at the moment. People are not feeling confident in their money, they're not feeling confident in the future of their money, they're trying to keep as much money to themselves as possible. Dealers are being told that people have a significant lack of confidence and yet are still going out and buying a shed load of cars and selling a shed load of those cars to people, which doesn't make any sense, because if demand is genuinely low by people, then the cars would not sell. Now, prices have slowly dipped this year, but nothing too major. It's kind of gone stagnant and ever so slightly gone down. I think this is a result of a few different factors, and one of those in particular should be very important for you guys sitting at home. Before we get to that though, one of the factors I think is very important right now is the lack of new car supply. I've spoken about it before, so I won't bang on about it, but there is a general lack in new cars at the moment, which comes as a result of multiple supply chain issues, particularly around the chip shortage, meaning that there are more people who are interested in buying used cars rather than new cars because they have to wait a really long time for the new cars. Add on the fact that it's becoming more expensive to borrow money with inflation, and it's actually cheaper for people to buy into used and cheaper cars rather than buying new cars on crazy finance deals with insane interest rates. So where demand should really have slumped, it might not have slumped as much as we expected it to, despite consumer confidence, because people still need cars and some people still like to buy cars relatively often. But the one thing I think is really relevant to you guys sitting at home, and also me at some point, and hopefully the next year if I get to buy a used car, is the fact that used car dealerships believe that prices are going to dip in the not too distant future. So again, going back to Car Dealer magazine, there are multiple articles talking about the fact that they're expecting a dip in used car prices in the not too distant future. So again, going back to Car Dealer magazine, there's a lot of talk around the fact that there's an expectation that before the end of this year, used car prices are going to dip. There's not an expectation that there's going to be a used car price crash, but there is an expectation that going towards winter, there's going to be less of a demand for used cars, and where normally there's quite a good market for used cars in January for most car dealerships, they're not expecting the same next year. So back at this time last year, car dealerships were buying up as much stock as possible and overstocking their cars in order to be prepared for a good January to sell lots and lots of cars. This year, it looks like more used car dealerships are buying up fewer cars and just enough to sell, basically. They want to get the cars into the dealerships and out of the dealerships faster than last year, where the prices were going up. So if they buy the car earlier and then the prices of used cars are going up over a long period of time, then they can sell them for more anyway, so it doesn't matter if it sits on the forecourt for a little while. Now though, as prices become stagnant and start to decrease month on month, if they buy a car at wholesale in, let's say, September, and in January prices have decreased, they might not make the same profit on that car, so they need to shift it much faster. That will also to an extent decrease the amount of demand on wholesalers, but that will obviously depend on how much we as consumers need cars regardless. But I just think it's a really interesting and telling sign that used car dealerships themselves are expecting prices to decrease. So that consumer confidence that I started off talking about is also affecting the used car dealerships themselves. They are also not feeling confident about long-term cash. They're trying to get cars in and out as quickly as possible. And if prices do dip over the next 5 to 6 months, then people who are looking to buy used cars are going to obviously benefit, and people who are looking to sell used cars are going to have a bit of a problem. But as I said, dealers aren't expecting a crash in prices, they are just expecting a dip. It's important to remember the context that we're in for this though. If you're taking this as an opportunistic piece, then great, it could be an opportunity for you, but remember that this is coming as a result of suffering. Lots of people struggling to be able to live comfortably at the moment, and as a result of that, prices potentially going down the toilet is great from a buying perspective and terrible in terms of the contextual perspective. And I thought I'd share that with you because it's interesting and I love talking about the prices of used cars longer term. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you're thinking about prices of your cars that you're either buying or looking at buying or whatever it is. For reference, the Alfa Romeo 4C that I've been trying to buy for quite a long time has been stagnant between 40 to 50k for quite a long time now. I could definitely do with a price dip in order to get into one at a better price, but whether that happens, we will have to see. So thank you for watching that. A massive thanks to the patrons as well for their support as always. But now that you've learned about the prices of used cars and the potential dip going forwards, there is one thing that you're missing, and you'll find it right here, is the 10 cheapest cars that you can buy with incredible fuel economy to help you through this slightly more difficult time of a cost of living crisis. And if you want to subscribe, please do so here.